The wind howled through the skeletal pines surrounding Blackwood, a remote speck of a town buried in the Vermont mountains, as Dr. Elias Kane's truck rattled down the frost-cracked road. It was late October 1983, the sky a bruised gray, and the air carried a bite that promised snow. Elias, a demonologist with a PhD in theology and scars from too many exorcisms, gripped the wheel, his satchel of books and wards rattling beside him. A letter had dragged him here, creased, urgent, penned in a shaky hand. Dr. Kane, Blackwood's damned. Things move in the dark. Pacts were made. Come quick or we're lost. Esther Marrow. No return address, just a map scrawled on the back, pointing to this nowhere place. He'd seen his share of hoaxes, hysterical priests, grieving widows, but this felt different. The ink smudged with desperation. Blackwood emerged through the mist, clapboard houses, a sagging church, a mill silent by a frozen creek, fewer than 100 souls clinging to its edges. Faces peered from windows, pale and pinched, as he parked by the church, its steeple crooked like a broken finger. A woman waited, gray-haired, bundled in a shawl, her eyes sharp despite the tremor in her hands. "Esther," Elias asked, stepping out, his coat flapping in the wind. She nodded, clutching a rosary. "You're him, the demon man. Thank God you came." Her voice cracked, fear threading it. It started again. Lights flicker, livestock die, voices in the walls. Started last week, after the storm. Elias adjusted his glasses, scanning the town. Quiet, too quiet, no dogs barking, no children playing. "Tell me about these pacts," he said, firm but calm, pulling a notebook from his satchel. Esther hesitated, glancing at the church. Inside safer. They listen out here. The church smelled of damp wood and wax, pews empty, a crucifix looming over a chipped altar. Esther locked the door, her breath fogging. "Old stories," she began low. 100 years back, 1860s. Blackwood was starving, mill broke, winter killed crops. Folks say the elders begged, something answered. Gave plenty, food, wood, luck, but took a price. Every generation it comes back, wanting more. Elias scribbled, pulse quickening classic pact signs, vague but potent. "What's it want now?" he asked, eyes on her rosary, beads worn smooth. She swallowed, voice dropping. "Souls, they say, marked ones. Last week, Ben Harrow's barn burned, no fire, just ash. He's raving, says a shadow spoke, called his name. Then Widow Tate's goats bled dry, no cuts." Elias frowned, flipping to a demonology chart. Avaritia, greed-born entities, thrive on bargains, escalate fast. "Where's Ben?" he said, standing. Esther pointed west. "Edge of town, won't leave his porch, armed to the teeth." He nodded, grabbing his bag, salt, holy water, iron cross, tools of his trade. "Show me." The Harrow place was a ruin, charred barn, house leaning, Ben a wild-eyed man in his 50s, shotgun across his lap, rocking on a creaking chair. "You the preacher?" he rasped, whiskey on his breath as Esther lingered back. "Demonologist," Elias corrected, calm. "Heard a shadow your name?" Ben's grip tightened, eyes darting. "Last Tuesday, storm woke me. Barn glowed, then gone. Voice said, 'Ben Harrow, you're mine, debt's due.' Ain't slept since." Elias knelt, sketching a salt circle around the porch. "Old pact, you can make it?" Ben spat, grim. "Great-granda, maybe tales of plenty, then hush." A scream cut the dusk, high, panicked from town. Elias spun, Esther gasping, Widow Tate. They ran, Ben staggering behind, shotgun raised, the streets a blur of mist and shadow. Tate's cottage glowed, windows pulsing red, goats dead in the yard, bloodless husks. Inside, the widow thrashed on the floor, clawing air, voice not hers, debt's due, Blackwood pays. Elias dropped his bag, splashing holy water, her scream spiked, then faded, eyes rolling back, alive but shaken. "It's here," he muttered, salt lines down, cross up. "Packs awake, greed spawn." Esther clutched his arm, trembling. "What now?" Elias stared at the dark beyond, a shape flickering tall, horned, gone fast. "Find the bargain, break it, or it takes you all." The wind howled, whispers riding it, and Blackwood's damnation loomed, ancient and hungry. The air in Widow Tate's cottage hung heavy with the stench of sulfur and fear as Dr. Elias Kane knelt beside her, the last echoes of her unnatural screams fading into ragged breaths. The red glow in the windows dimmed, leaving only the flicker of his flashlight across the salt lines he'd poured, the iron cross trembling in his grip. Esther Marrow stood by the door, rosary beads clicking, her face pale as the widow stirred, muttering, "It knew me, knew my name." Ben Harrow lingered outside, shotgun propped, his wild eyes scanning the Vermont night beyond Blackwood's crooked streets. Elias checked his notebook. Avaritia, greed demon, binds through pacts, marks its debtors. "Widow," he said, voice steady. "What did it say, exact words?" She clutched her shawl, voice frail. "Debts due, Abigail Tate, your line pays." "Cold, like wind in my skull." He nodded, scribbling names, personal, a pattern forming. "Your kin, 1860s, hard times?" She hesitated, then whispered, "Great-grandpa Jonas, mill worker, bragged of luck after the famine." Quiet after. Elias exchanged a look with Esther, two families, Harrow and Tate, tied to the elder's bargain, the demon waking now. He stood, brushing salt from his coat. "Esther, records at church, town hall, anything from then?" She nodded, shaky. "Church basement, old books, locked since I was a girl." Ben growled from the porch, "Waste time, shoot the bastard." Elias ignored him, grabbing his satchel. "Bullets won't touch it, knowledge will. Stay here, guard her." Ben spat, reluctant but stayed, shotgun cocked, as Elias and Esther hurried back, the mist thickening, whispers threading the wind, "Debt due." The church basement was a damp crypt, stone walls, cobwebs, a trunk bolted shut under a faded cross. Esther pried it with a crowbar from the vestry, her hands trembling, and it creaked open. Ledgers, brittle sermons, a journal, leather cracked, titled Blackwood Covenant, 1863. Elias flipped it, pages yellow, ink faint. "We, the undersigned, beseech aid in our want, Jonas Tate, Ezra Harrow, Samuel Klein, offer our lines fealty for abundance." Below, runes he knew, demonic sigils, greed seal, blood smudged. "They signed it," he muttered, tracing the pact. "Gave their descendants as collateral." Esther gasped, crossing herself. "Gott in Himmel, what did they call?" Elias flipped to a sketch. A horned figure, eyes hollow, captioned Avaritor, Lord of Want. Avaricia's lieutenant, feeds on desperation, grows with each claim. It's marking them, Ben, Abigail, kin of the signers. A thud shook the church. Outside, a cow lay gutted in the yard, bloodless, its eyes black pits. Esther whimpered, "It's angry. You reading that?" Elias slammed the journal shut, salt scattering. "It knows we're digging good. Means it's scared." He hauled the trunk upstairs, locking it in the vestry, and sketched wards, salt, iron filings, prayers in Latin around the church. "Safe here, for now," he said, but the air buzzed, a growl rumbling low. Esther clutched her rosary, desperate. "How's it end?" Elias's jaw tightened. "Find the anchor, the pack's root, destroy it, or it takes every soul marked." A scream bends, cut the night, from the Harrow place. Elias grabbed his tools, running, Esther behind, the town a blur of fog and dread. Ben thrashed on his porch, shotgun dropped, clawing his chest as shadows writhed around him. Not one, but many horned silhouettes, whispering, "Pay, pay." Elias splashed holy water. Hisses erupted, shapes fraying, Ben collapsing, gasping. "It's in me, burning." A mark glowed on his chest. Sigil from the journal, red, pulsing. Elias pressed the cross to it. Ben roared, then stilled, the mark fading, but not gone. "It's claimed him," Elias said, grim. "Temporary hold, won't last." Esther panted, eyes wide. "Abigail too?" Elias nodded, checking Ben's pulse, weak, alive. All the lines, Harrow, Tate, Klein. "Who's Klein's kin?" She froze, voice small. "Me, Esther Klein Marrow. My grandpa Samuel." Her rosary slipped, beads scattering, as the church bell tolled, slow, unpooled, a dirge. Elias pulled her back, salt circling them. "You're marked too. It's coming for you all." A laugh rolled from the dark. Low, guttural. Not human, not wind. 3 lines, 3 debts. It hissed, shadows coiling near the church. Elias gripped the journal, mind racing, anchor, pact, blood. "The mill," he said, sharp. "Where it started, famine, desperation. It's there." Esther nodded, trembling. as Ben groaned awake, clutching his chest. "Kill it," he rasped, "or I will." The night pressed in, Avaritor's whispers growing, Blackwood's damnation a heartbeat away, and Elias knew. Time was short, and the devil's bargain was calling its due. The church bell's toll faded into the mist as Dr. Elias Kane steadied Esther Marrow on Blackwood's frozen street. Her confession, Esther Klein Marrow, hanging heavy between them. Ben Harrow slumped on his porch. The sigils glowed dim on his chest. His breath ragged, shotgun useless against the shadows that had marked him. The journal, Blackwood Covenant, 1863, burned in Elias's satchel, its blood-signed pact naming 3 lines. Harrow, Tate, Klein, now clawing into 1983 with Avaritor's greed-driven wrath. The mill, silent by the creek, loomed in his mind, ground zero, where desperation birthed this evil. Elias pulled Esther toward his truck, salt crunching underfoot, the air thick with whispers. 3 debts, pay. "The mill," he said, firm, loading his tools. "Holy water, iron stakes, a silver dagger etched with banishing runes. It's the anchor where they called it. We break it there." Esther clutched her shawl, eyes darting. "No one goes near, haunted, they say. Grandpa Samuel died there after." She trailed off, fear choking her, but Elias nodded, grim. "After the pact makes sense. Get in." The drive was short, Blackwood's houses blurring past, their windows dark, curtains twitching, fearful eyes watching, knowing. The mill rose ahead, rotted planks, will still, creek iced over. A relic of famine turned shrine to greed. Elias parked, flashlight sweeping, the journal's sigils a map in his head. "Stay close," he warned Esther, salt lines trailing as they approached, the wind howling like a beast caged. A shape flickered, tall, horned, near the mill door, then gone, laughter rolling low. Inside, dust choked the air, looms broken, shadows pooling deep. Elias traced the floor, scratches old, forming a circle, sigils faint but familiar. Avaritor's seal, carved in desperation. "Here," he muttered, kneeling, salt pouring, iron stakes hammered at compass points. Esther gasped, pointing. A ledger, not the journal, tucked under a beam, leather cracked, titled Mill Accounts, 1862 to 64. He flipped it, numbers, then a shift. Post-winter, abundance, grain, timber, no source. JTH, SK vow silence. Proof, mundane, masking the pack's fruit. A growl rumbled, walls shook, dust falling. And Ben stumbled in, shotgun trembling, sigil flaring red. "It's back!" he roared, firing wild. Shots scattered, useless, as shadows surged, horned figures weaving, eyes glinting. Elias splashed holy water. Hisses erupted, shapes fraying, but Ben clutched his chest, collapsing, gasping. "Burns? Kill me!" Elias pressed the daggers flat to the mark. Ben screamed, then stilled, the sigil dimming, temporary again. "It's stronger here," Elias said, grim, staking more iron. "Anchors close." Esther whimpered, rosary snapping, beads rolling. "Me? It's me now?" Elias checked her. No mark yet, but her lineage pulsed in the air, Avaritor's gaze shifting. A voice boomed. "Not wind, not human. Klein, debt due." The mill trembled, ice cracking outside, and a figure solidified. Tall, horned, skin ash gray, eyes hollow, gold glinting at its throat. A coin, old, pact sealed. Avaritor, Elias breathed, cross raised, Latin spilling exorcizo te immundus spiritus. It laughed, claw slashing, iron bent, salt scattered, Esther screaming as it loomed. Elias dove, dagger slashing, the blade sparked, gold coin falling, Avaritor recoiling, shrieking. "The anchor!" he yelled, grabbing it, hot, pulsing, etched with runes matching the journal. Esther splashed holy water, voice trembling, begone. The demon frayed, not gone, retreating to shadows, coin cooling in Elias's hand. "It's tied to this," he said, panting, wrapping it in salt-soaked cloth. "Pack's heart, destroy it, maybe we win." Ben groaned awake, mark faint, muttering, "Kill it, A scream Abigail Tate's echoed from town, sharp, desperate. Elias cursed, hauling Ben up, Esther clutching the ledger. It's hitting all three fast now. They staggered to the truck, mill creaking, shadows coiling behind. At Tate's cottage, she thrashed again, sigil blazing on her arm, voice guttural, all pay, all. Elias pressed the coin to it, gold flared, her scream spiked, then silence, mark fading, not gone. Temporary, he growled, journal open, break the seal, break the debt. The coin was key, but not enough, something anchored deeper. Esther clutched his arm, pale. Church or records said a ritual, there. Elias nodded, driving back, the coin a live wire in his grip, shadows trailing, more now, Avaritor's legion, greedy for Blackwood's soul. The church loomed, bell tolling slow, unpulled, as they burst in, Ben and Abigail weak but alive, marked, waiting. It's not done, Elias said, grim, the coin's pulse a heartbeat, Pact's root buried still, and the devil's bargain tightened its grip. Dr. Elias Kane shoved open the church doors in Blackwood, the gold coin, etched with Avaritor's runes, burning cold in his salt-wrapped grip, its pulse a taunting rhythm against the tolling bell. Esther Marrow stumbled in behind him, clutching the mill's ledger, her face ashen, while Ben Harrow and Abigail Tate leaned on each other, their sigil marks flickering red, faint but alive with the demon's claim. The Vermont night pressed against the stained glass, shadows writhing beyond the salt lines Elias had laid, whispers clawing the air. Debt, do all. The coin was a piece, not the whole. Pact's anchor hid deeper, and time bled out fast. He dumped his satchel on the altar, journal, holy water, silver dagger. Mind racing through Blackwood Covenant, 1863. Esther, the ritual, where's it written? He barked, flipping pages, the sigils glaring back. She pointed, trembling, to a sermon tucked in the trunk. Ink faded. Confession seals, confession breaks. Blood given, blood returned. Elias frowned, tracing it. Elders knelt, offered kin, sealed in sacred ground. Church floor, he muttered, kicking pews aside, salt scattering. Beneath us, anchors here, Ben growled, shotgun trembling. Dig, damn it, end this. Abigail clutched her arm, mark pulsing, whispering, hurry, it's loud now. Elias grabbed an iron stake, prying floorboards near the altar. Wood splintered, revealing dirt, then stone, a slab etched with the same runes as the coin. Esther gasped, got Samuel's mark, a crude SK, scratched beside it. Samuel Klein, her kin, Pact's signer. Elias hammered the slab, crack spidering, and lifted it. Below, a hollow, a wooden box, blackened, oozing rot, a lock rusted shut. He pried it with the dagger, hinges snapping. A skull grinned up, human, jaw wired, a parchment curled inside, blood-stained. We bind our lines, Harrow, Tate, Klein, to Avaritor, Lord of Want, for plenty eternal. Blood seals, blood pays. 3 locks of hair, dark, gray, blonde, tied with sinew, the Pact's core. This is it, Elias said, grim, coins slotting into a groove on the box, clicking, the skull's jaw dropping, a hiss escaping. Mine? Shadows surged, windows rattling, Avaritor's laugh booming. Fools, too late. Elias splashed holy water. Box sizzled, shadows recoiled. But the sigils flared on Ben and Abigail, their screams tearing free, marks burning bright. Esther clutched her chest, gasping, me too, burning. A mark glowed through her shawl, Klein's debt, claimed now. Elias chanted, Domini labora nos, cross pressed to the box, but Avaritor loomed, ash-gray, horned, gold glinting at its throat, claw slashing. Pews shattered, Esther thrown, blood trickling from her brow. Break it! Ben roared, crawling, shotgun blasting, shot ricocheted, useless. Elias grabbed the dagger, slicing the hair, dark snapped. Ben gasped, mark dimming, gray cut. Abigail stilled, relief flooding, blonde severed. Esther breathed, mark fading. The skull rattled, Avaritor shrieking, no. Coin melting, box smoking, but the demon held, clawing air, not banished. Blood returned, Elias muttered, journal open, confession breaks. You 3, confess it, now, he yelled, salt circling, dagger poised over the skull, holy water dripping. Ben spat, horse, my kin Ezra Harrow sold us for greed, damned us. Forgive it. Abigail sobbed, Jonas Tate, cursed me for plenty, release us. Esther knelt, rosary tight, Samuel Klein, my blood, shame's mine, lift it. The box trembled, skull cracking, Avaritor howling, gold flared at its throat, coins echo, then frayed, shadows thinning. Elias stabbed the parchment, blade sank, rot erupted, demon screeching, debt, unpaid. And vanished, a gust slamming doors, silence falling, heavy, fragile. Ben slumped, Mark gone, Abigail wept, Esther clutched her rosary, unmarked now. Elias panted, box smoldering, parchment ash, pact broken, anchor split, but Avaritor's last hiss lingered, unpaid. It's not gone, he said, grim, kicking the ashes, salt sealing the hollow. Weakened banished for now, but greed's roots deep. Esther whispered, us our want. He nodded, packing tools, coin melted into slag. You confessed, broke the claim. It'll watch, wait. Dawn crept, gray and cold, Blackwood stirring faces at windows, fear easing. Elias drove them back, Ben to his porch, Abigail home, Esther to the church, salt lines fresh, wards up. Burn the rest, he told her, journal locked away, and pray. She nodded, resolute as he climbed into his truck, the town's quiet a lie, Avaritor's shadow faint but real, a bargain stalled, not ended. The dawn light seeped through Blackwood's mist, casting a pale glow over the church as Dr. Elias Kane stood beside his truck. The melted slag of Avaritor's coin a cold lump in his pocket. Esther Marrow lingered at the door, rosary in hand, her unmarked chest a fragile victory after the night's chaos. Ben Harrow and Abigail Tate freed too. Their sigils gone, the pact's anchor shattered beneath the altar. The box's skull and parchment were ash. The confessions of greed's heirs, Harrow, Tate, Klein, had frayed the demon's grip, but its parting hiss, debt unpaid, echoed in Elias's mind, a warning unheeded by the town's tentative calm. He dumped his satchel on the hood, journal, dagger, depleted holy water, checking Blackwood Covenant, 1863. It's not over, he muttered, flipping to Avaritor's entry. Greed's lord retreats, not dies, rooted in want, fed by silence. Esther approached, voice shaky. We confessed. Broke it, Ja? Elias shook his head, grim. Drove it back, weakened, not gone. The pact's blood spent, but greed's alive, here, in them. He nodded at the houses waking slow, faces peering, whispers of relief masking deeper hungers. Ben staggered up, shotgun slung, eyes clearer but hollow. Felt it leave, still cold inside. He rasped, rubbing his chest. Abigail followed, shawl tight, muttering, quiet now, no voices. Elias eyed them, then the town. Livestock dead, barns charred, plenty lost again. Avaritor's biding, watching. It'll test you. Esther clutched her rosary. Firm. What's left to do? He tapped the journal. Find its lair where it first came. Mills the call, church the seal. Something's between, feeding it. A cry cut the morning sharp, childlike, from the creek. Elias grabbed his tools, running, Esther and Ben trailing, Abigail hobbling behind. A girl, 10, maybe, pigtails sodden, knelt by the ice, a lamb beside her, gutted, bloodless, eyes black pits. It took Pa's sheep, she wailed, pointing at the woods. Laughed, said more. Elias knelt, salt circling, dagger tracing air, no mark on her, but the lamb's death screamed Avaritor, bold again. Where's your pa? He asked, gentle. She sniffled, mill checking traps. The mill loomed as they drove, eroded, silent, creek glinting red in the dawn, unnatural. A man, broad, bearded, trapper's coat, stumbled from the door, clutching his arm, sigil flaring red. John Klein. Esther gasped, rushing to him, her cousin, Samuel's line. Saw it horned, gold eyes, said I'm next. John groaned, collapsing, mark pulsing. Elias pressed the daggers flat, sigil dimmed, John gasping, came from below, ground shook. Elias cursed, journal open, lair beneath, greed's vein. Under the mill, entry point. They hauled John to the truck, Ben guarding, shotgun ready, as Elias and Esther entered, flashlight sweeping. The packed circle scarred the floor, but a crack yawned, new, deep, sulfur wafting. It's waking, Elias said, lowering a rope, salt trailing, dagger sheathed. Esther clutched her rosary firm. With you, Kleinblood, my fight. They descended damp earth, roots twisting, a tunnel stretching, air buzzing with want, more. A chamber opened, stone, crude altar, coins scattered, old, glinting greed's hoard, Avaritor's nest. Shadows surged, horned, many, not one, claws slashing, Esther screaming as Elias splashed holy water, hisses echoing. A figure solidified, Avaritor, ash gray, gold chain reformed, eyes hollow, laughing debt grows, new blood. John's mark flared outside, audible through dirt, a scream piercing. Elias stabbed the altar, dagger sank, coins melted, Avaritor recoiling, no. But held, clawing Esther, her rosary snapping, mark blooming on her neck. Confess. Elias yelled, cross up, Latin roaring, exorcizo te. She gasped, Samuel's greed, mine, release it. Mark faded, Avaritor fraying, not gone. The chamber shook, rocks fell, tunnel collapsing as Elias dragged her up, rope burning hands, mill trembling above. Ben fired, shot scattered, useless. John thrashed, mark dimming as Elias pressed the cross, chanting, begone. Avaritor's laugh faded, wait, want, shadows thinning, lair sealed. John stilled, unmarked, Esther panting, it's quiet, done? Elias shook his head, grim, hauling them back. Pushed back, lairs shut, but greed's alive. It'll whisper, tempt. Blackwood loomed, fragile, and the devil's bargain lingered, a debt deferred, not paid. Dr. Elias Kane stood alone in the churchyard of Blackwood, the Vermont dawn a thin, cold slash across the pines, the melted slag of Avaritor's coin a bitter shard in his clenched fist. Inside, Esther Merrow knelt at the altar, her rosary a lifeline, while Ben Harrow leaned against the doorframe, shotgun dangling, and John Klein sat hunched, staring at his unmarked hands. Abigail Tate watched from her porch across the street, her silhouette a ghost in the mist, freed yet fragile. The town lay hushed, its clabbered homes holding a brittle peace, but Elias felt the lie, Avaritor's echo, wait, want, a pulse of greed he couldn't shake, a demon he'd banished but not killed. He pulled Blackwood Covenant 1863 from his satchel, its leather cracked, greed's lord retreats, not dies, banish fully, sever want with sacrifice of will. We missed something, he whispered, the lair collapsed, the pact's anchor ash, yet his scars burned, a warning from too many fights with hell's dregs. Esther stepped out, her breath fogging, voice soft. It's finished, Ja? We're clean. Elias turned, eyes hard. Clean's an illusion, it's dormant, feeding on what lingers. Greed's ours, not just theirs. Ben snorted bitter. Then cut it out, I ain't dying for it again. A rustle broke the silence, not wind, but a low, guttural hum from the woods beyond the creek. Elias tensed, grabbing his tools, salt, dagger, the last drops of holy water, his heart a drum as a figure emerged. The girl, her pigtails matted, eyes hollow, staggering forward. It's calling, she rasped, hands clutching air. Pa's traps gold. Won't stop. Elias waved them over, Esther, Ben, John, the mill rode a shadowed gauntlet, Abigail's faint cry, no more, lost behind them. The creek shimmered, tainted red, a calf sprawled in the frost, gutted, bloodless, coins glinting, old, tarnished, Avaritor's snare. They're still reaching, Elias said, voice low, salt dusting the ground, dagger steady. Freed, and they want more. Esther's rosary trembled, who'd take it after this? He pointed, tracks, human, fresh, winding into the trees. Someone broke, greed's a chain. The girl whimpered, Pa swore no, but he looked. Elias led them into the woods, flashlight flickering, the air sour with sulfur, a hunger older than the pines. The trees opened, a hollow, stones jagged, an altar of splintered wood heaped with coins, glowing faint, Avaritor's sigil etched in dirt, pulsing like a wound. Shadows stirred, horned, scattered, not one, feeding on a town's quiet desperation. They rebuilt it, Elias murmured, after we tore it down, couldn't let go. Avaritor rose, ash gray, gold chain dull, its voice a rasp, debt renews, blood calls. Claws raking, coins tumbling like ash. Elias chanted, exorcizo te, immundus spiritus. Holy water hissing, dagger striking, with splintered, coins dulled, Avaritor snarling, no. Then lunged, shotgun cracking, shot pinged, useless, John scattered salt, silent, Esther whispered, got, break us free, her rosary taught. The demon wavered, chain fraying, but clung, want binds. Elias gripped the journal, last line stark, sever root, wills surrender. Renounce it, all of you, he shouted, cross trembling, dagger hovering over the altar's scar. Ben dropped his weapon, voice cracking, I forsake it, plenty's a curse, end it. John rasped, greed's not mine, release me. Esther pressed her rosary to her lips, Klein's sin, I cast it out, God. The girl, small, fierce, no gold, never. Elias plunged, the dagger blade sank, altar shuddered, a wail tore free, no, no. Avaritor's form unraveled, gold chain crumbling, shadows dissolving, a gust whipping through, coins fading to dust. Silence fell, deep, Unyielding, the hollow empty, the air still, greed's whisper gone. Elias sank to his knees, breath ragged, the weight of years, exorcisms, doubts pressing down. "It's done," he said, voice hoarse, salt sealing the dirt. "Well, snapped it, yours, not mine." They walked back, the girl clinging to John, Blackwood stirring, faces peering, hands bare, the lure broken. Elias tore the journal's packed pages, burned them by the creek, ashes sinking, truck waiting. "It's over," he told Esther, quiet, "but it's in us always. Guard it." She nodded, eyes clear, Ben and John still, Abigail joining, her shawl loose, free. He drove away, pines closing over the town, Avaritor's bargain dead, paid by surrender, not blood, Blackwood raw but quiet, its devil's debt lifted, its shadow his to carry.